Hi everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to paint in watercolor a little landscape with sheep, which I hope you're going to enjoy. So without any further ado, let's get started. First thing though, very first thing, I'm going to mask off my page using my magic tape. I was introduced to this the other day just by chance, as I mentioned elsewhere on the challenge video. I was watching a French lady paint, and she masked off her painting with magic tape. That's to say this one. Hang on a second. Here it is in my drawer. Scotch magic tape. I've never seen this used before, although since then somebody did tell me that Ellen Crimmy-Trent uses it. I don't know about that. I've never seen her use it, but that doesn't mean to say she doesn't. Anyway, I was shocked by the fact that this lady was using this to mask off her painting, because I thought sellotape would stick, but it's not the same as ordinary sticky tape. For a start, it's invisible, which is wonderful because it doesn't distract you from your painting. And secondly, it gives a much cleaner line, actually, than either masking tape, the usual builder's type of stuff, or washi tape, which usually doesn't stick very well at all. So this is wonderful. And I watched this lady, Ondine, doing her masking, and I'm thinking that's never going to work. But it did, so I'm going to copy that idea. Right, I have got here a light grey Artex watercolour pencil, and I'm going to do my very light sketch with this so that I'm not left with lots of graphite lines under my painting. Hopefully, the painting will disperse these a little bit so we don't have too many lines left, because they're beginning to irritate me a little bit. Now, this landscape is quite simple. It's divided into 4 sections. At the top, we have some sky. Then we've got some landscape. Then we've got a wall with some sheep. And then we've got a little bit of foreground. Okay. And so I'm going to basically divide the whole thing into 4 sections. So one will be about there, one will be about there, one will be about, let me see, I'm going to come up, we're about there. Let me see. Okay, so let's say this is the horizon, and it's a little bit hilly. Like that, perhaps, and not much sky. We don't need too much sky. So we'll just do a horizon like that. And a little bit further down, we'll have another hill. Maybe we'll take that up like that and have that going like that. Oh, I don't want everything meeting in the middle. Anyway, so this one can go all the way across like that. I think that will probably be okay. And then just below this line, we have got a wall, and I'm going to offset it slightly to the left like this. And this is what we call in England, and you probably do wherever you are too, a drystone wall. And that means that it's a wall that's built out of rocks that have been picked up off the land. We did the same thing here in our place in France, and just piled up together very carefully. It takes a lot of skill to make these things stand together. No cement or any kind of anything to fix them together, just the stone. So we'll do that, and then we will do it here as well. This is probably a scene, because I'm thinking Yorkshire, right? I'm thinking, I don't know how many of you know England at all, but some of you will probably have been to Yorkshire. And now I'm doing these kind of a little bit irregular here as they kind of go into the distance. You could do them a lot more whimsically if you wanted to. And anyway, so that's my version. And then in the front here, I'm not going to necessarily draw them in, but I'm just putting some indicators of where I'm going to have some flowers. And then in the middle here, we'll have some sheep, some whimsical sheep. Maybe this one is a lamb down here. And they have their, if they're like my sheep, they've got ears and horns, but we'll probably stick with the ears, and we'll give them 2 legs and 4 legs or whatever. I have a bigger one here. This one's, like I say, is a lamb. And maybe another one over here. Always when you're drawing sheep, to make them look more realistic, you put their heads down into their shoulders, kind of thing. And you can make them look kind of quizzical if you want to. So a bit like that. Maybe we'll have one squashed in the middle here. Okay. Right then, so we'll get started on that. Now, talking about the materials that I'm using. I'm going to use my custom design set, which is all my own colours. I've got one missing there, and I need to put that one back. What was it? I used it this morning. I can't remember where I put it. Oh, yes, I do. I remember. Hang on. Here it is, around here. It was Potter's Pink. We probably won't use Potter's Pink, but that needs to go back in there before I forget all about it. Right, and then we had Cobalt Blue down here as well. Eek. Right, so now we're all set. And I'm also going to use Daniel Smith's Primatech colours, because for the wall I want to use hematite. You see this grey here is very, very granulating, and I'm going to mix that with, say, green, Mayan blue, maybe amethyst, to give me some different colours for the stones. So that's what I'm hoping to do today, if I can stay awake. Okay, so let's get on with it. I like to do my skies wet in wet. We will start with a number 10 round brush. I'm using a draw well. That's what came to hand. So give me blue. This is Cobalt Blue. We'll mix that up before we start. And I will wet the sky first. As I was going to say earlier, but I think I forgot, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll do a sketch of this, and you can download it from our website. A little bit of Naples yellow on the skyline to give a little bit of a glow. And Naples yellow I choose because you can use raw sienna, but I choose Naples yellow because it doesn't tend to go green when it meets the sky. And I'm doing a patchy wash. I'm not making a song and dance about it. I'll put a bit more in here and there to give us a light and dark. And then I might give it a bit of a swoosh around and then just let it settle to give us some sort of cloudy kind of, a typical Yorkshire scene. And we'll let that do its own thing. Just close up those holes a bit. That was a hare, not a rabbit. Okay, so what we need to do really is wait for that to dry. And so in order to do that, I'm going to use the hairdryer. Now you could leave the sky just like that if you wanted to, or you can come in and just strengthen the darker parts and basically drop in a bit more of a cloudy atmosphere. That's entirely optional. Now the next thing to do is to put in the hills in the distance, and for that I'm going to mix I'm going to try today mixing on, sorry about the racket, try to mix some greens on the palette that I've got here. Because I don't normally do that, but I just thought I would do that for a change. But first of all, what I'm going to do for the very distantest hill is use this green, which is sitting here neglected in a palette that I used earlier on today to paint today's challenge picture. And that is a nice sludgy green. And then we can change it slightly by mixing it with the other thing that was right next to it. Just paint the sections of the hills in the distance there. We could go from there to this one that was sitting here, also neglected, for this one right in the distance. And then over here we've got, I don't like to waste paint. I've got all these little dishes sitting around saying, me, why not me? So indeed, why not? Here we have another nice green. So let's put that in here. And if it kind of melds with the one behind it, don't be afraid. It will not harm you. And you can change it halfway down, add in a bit more blue, which would be like for a woodland or something like that. Okay, and then maybe something really pale. So this is buff titanium with a little bit of pink in it. So we'll put that field in there. And then we've got a big one over here, but we're not going to leave it as a big one because we're going to paint several colours in there. We'll use a bit of quinacridone gold, perhaps. And then maybe we'll kind of go into the greens a little bit. Just make it all nice and mixed up. And how about a nice soft section of green here? And then I'm just going to wash the whole thing down so that it fades away behind the sheep. When that's dry, we'll put in some, it might already be dry near the back. We'll put in some trees on the joins, so we don't need to worry about the joins. So we'll just dry this again. Now, next thing, let's put some of these trees and bushes in the background. And we'll pick up some, I said I would try doing it here, didn't I? Yeah, now that's quite a nice colour for our trees in the distance. Perhaps we'll put some along here. So I'm using a much smaller brush now. This is a size 5. And we just go along that edge. Make them go smaller as they go away down the hill. And then we could add a little bit of quinacridone to that to make it into a slightly different colour. And we could put some trees just standing over here. And maybe I'll just do something like that. Oh dear, the dogs are all having nightmares. Bad dreams. We add a bit of blue, perhaps. For the trees in the distance. Don't forget to make them smaller than the ones nearby. So we can just kind of dot those in. And you might want to indicate a softer line underneath just by dragging your brush through the bottom edge there. And then way back yonder, a bit more blue in it. We could pretend this is a sort of forest in the distance on there. And just perhaps a little bit of texture in the mountain in the distance. We'll leave that for the minute, and I'm going to scoot these out of the way and go to the Daniel Smith and his hematite. So, whoopsie. Oh, it's been a hot day today. Luckily, we've got chips for dinner. So there's more than one way of doing this. We could paint them grey and then pick up something else and drop it in. That's one way to do it. I have grey in my brush, and I've also now got blue, and you can see how the hematite is reacting to that. It granulates. And we can mix up different colours as we go along, just literally. I know I say at random often, but really, you definitely can. A little bit of random never did anyone any harm. I know, because I'm a very random type. I don't think that the rocks in Yorkshire are actually quite as brightly coloured as I'm making these ones. But let's not worry about reality for once. Let's just get some nice dusty, hematite-y, granulating-y colours in here. And appreciate how much variety you can get with just a couple of colours that were left on your palette from last time, and a bit of hematite to act as your desaturator, or whatever it was that we were talking about the other day. Yeah, so there we are. That's one very nice greenish kind of wall section. And then we're going to come in on this one. She'll use that green in several places. And then maybe I'll pick up a bit of amethyst or piemontite, whatever that is. And let's do some in that colour. Mix up a nice sludgy bunch of greens and greys and I don't know if you can hear the wind outside. It's definitely getting up. You can definitely, I'm sure, hear the wind chimes chiming. I might, when I've done this painting, I probably will actually, because I like the effect, I probably will come in with some pen and do some pen and inking. Oh yes, that's pegmatite. A bit more of the hematite. And honestly, I'm not thinking very much about what I'm doing here. I'm just basically going for it. And now I want another brush that is a bit smaller. And I'm going to put some more green in the foreground here, so grass, right? And we'll just come along underneath our wall and just put some light green in. And then perhaps we'll pick up a bit of whatever colour that is. I think that looks a bit like Berlin blue or something like that. And a bit of quinacridone to mix up some sludgy green. And we'll go close to the sheep. If I do this, then I know that I can straighten out their legs when I come in with the pen, right? So this is nicely blending into the light green that I put in first. And a bit more yellow. Perhaps a bit more yellow still, just down here to offset that, perhaps. We won't know until we're finished whether or not that was a good idea. And then I think what I'll do actually here is get hold of my masker, my 3.3mm masking pen, which seems to have decided to go red. And take that out and put in a clean nib. I see now why they do that. So put in a clean one and I'll wash that one. Clearly needs it. Now it might take me a few minutes to get this flowing. So what I could do is use a different masking tool if this is not going to work at the moment, because how long does it take to come through, do you think? Ah, here it comes. Right, so with this, I'm going to put in some, hopefully a little bit irregularly spaced, grasses, for example. And oh, I need to dry that. Hang on. I don't know if this is going to actually help or not, but I was thinking I would do some flowers down here. And I would make them lighter by putting in some masking fluid, if you know what I mean. So they're brightest in the foreground. And then the ones that go in the background there will be a little bit less bright. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. I haven't done a landscape for ages. Okay, so we let that dry for a second. I'm going to just go back to the green, the dark green, which we can make with quinacridone gold and either Berlin or halo blue. And let's just bring this over here. And we can start perhaps putting in some grasses. If I go to a smaller brush, and I want this to be nice and dark. That makes a good mixture, that does. Oh, a few dots over here. Okay. Okay, okie dokie, right. And now, yes, I will come in later and do something with the stones. So what I probably need to do now, and I was thinking I would do, is to, with a relatively small brush, paint in yes, I need to probably get some of this a bit lighter and paint in grasses and things like that in the foreground. There's 100 ways of doing this painting, this kind of style of painting. I'm trying to keep to a very restricted palette, so I'm not using all sorts of things. But got quinacridone gold and this Berlin blue seem to be doing pretty well for the leaves and the foreground undergrowth. Which we will dry. Now, question is, can we get this to come off of the page? This is the test of a good masking fluid, isn't it? If it comes off and if it leaves you with nice clean spots behind. And we will see. Seems to be working. Main thing is to make sure that it's dry. And some people say you can't use a hairdryer on masking fluid because it then won't come off, but I don't. My experience has led me to believe that that is not true. And I think you can see that with this, and I mean, formulation of masking fluid has changed a lot over the years. It used to smell terribly of ammonia, and I think it was actually made from rubber, real rubber, with ammonia to make it into a liquid. But nowadays it doesn't smell at all, and it's much easier to use. And I think that looks absolutely fine. So my last touch will be to come in there with some red and maybe do some poppies or something like that in the middle here. So the next thing is to complete the wall there, because I've stopped short of my masking, which is a bit silly. I need a bit more of this colour over here. Just make them a bit indistinct like that. And we're going to want to also have some dashes and dots and doodles and things of different colours in the foreground here. And maybe some here. Right, and so now the sheep, and I just want some very light grey, which we'll just put on one side. Just bring out the sheepiness just a little bit. If you go around their heads, it's possibly the best thing to do. These do tend to look a little bit like my sheep. Okay, so then we'll wait for their bodies to dry and then we'll put their legs in. And I think we probably need, in this painting here, where I deliberately left some space here, I think we want to put some trees. So let's find a dark colour for the branches. And don't necessarily have to be trees as such, but we will want some sort of dark brown. And maybe, I don't know, shall I use a smaller brush? I'm not really very experienced with very small brushes. I suppose that's a good reason to try something out like that, isn't it? So let's see what happens. Can make that a bit darker. I'm going to do these in very lightly and loosely. And then I think we'll put some leaves on there. And for that we'll need a lot more yellow in our green. Okay, and then over this side, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paint in a bit more of a kind of a bushy sort of effort over here. So we've got a few trees there, and let's find some more of that brown. And we've got a hedge, basically, you know, a hedge here. Right, and so let's do our sheep's legs, shall we? Not quite dry. This is where the little brush comes in handy, and we'll just indicate legs. Like this. And my sheep don't have black faces. They do have dark ears, though. They also have horns, but I find painting their horns in tends to look a bit weird. So we don't usually do that. And then when I get the pen out in a minute, I'll have a go with the pen doing their features. I do think I need some texture on this field here. It's looking a bit pale, isn't it? And here, I think we need some trees or a hedge line or something like that going up there. And maybe a bit here too. It's a bit pale. Okie dokie. Right, so we're going to put in some poppies or something red. in the foreground here. This is cadmium red. And all the little spaces that I reserved can spring into life as little poppies. And by doing the stems and the leaves and things, it does give more impression of depth. So that's actually quite a good thing. We'll do one or two over here as well. And I'm never very keen on actually filling the whole entirety of the foreground with a barrier. I like to, in general, keep it relatively open so you can feel as if you're walking into the picture in a way. So I'm not going to do anything more to the foreground because I think that's probably nice and loose, and you could put in some dark areas for the poppies, but it's in a way, we just make some of them a little, maybe put in a few more really dark ones. Have I missed any of my... I think I have missed a few. So one here. And perhaps we put one or two up here as well. Now, I said I was going to do some pen work, didn't I? And I definitely need that for the sheep because I'm never going to be able to do their faces without using a pen. Here comes the hairdryer. That's just so that I don't smudge anything. Now, I need to test out the face of a sheep. I haven't painted a sheep for a while. So just on my table here, I'm going to just do a quick test. So I give them a nose and a mouth like that, and then their eyes, usually quite low down. That's right, that's what I normally do. So we give them a nose and a mouth and their eyes, something like that. And then I might go round with a bit of pen, just very lightly. And probably we need a bit of grey there. It's handy to have the grey pencil. Okay, and it wouldn't be a completely irrational thing to do to just give yourself a bit of a mixed media effect and give these sheep a bit more texture to their fleeces by using a pen. Sorry, a pencil, watercolor pencil. You can do that quite well. Might be easier than using a brush and paint. I think that actually works quite well, just kind of go in there looking and feeling woolly. I think his ears are a little bit floaty, but never mind. Got her ears. Give them a little bit of grey on their faces as well. So there's the sheep, and now let's think about if we want to put in any other pen work. I think some of the stones might benefit from having some kind of outline to delineate where the stones actually are, and maybe to put a few cracks in there as well, and fill in some of the holes that I've left between them. And this is quite good fun. Especially if and when you like the effect that you achieve. It's particularly important to give the joints their character. And there are always lots of cracks and, irregularities, and you could go on for ages doing pen work on here, but if I was doing this for myself, I would probably take a bit longer over it. But you don't want to be too painstaking. And it's possible that the painting might develop and become something slightly different from what you expected at the very beginning. You might be surprised by what you can create. If it doesn't turn out the way you expected or hoped for, then my suggestion would be to do it again. Try it again. Don't say, I can't do that. Right, so then we want some kind of... I'm wondering whether to go with my other black pen. This one, which does light and dark for the more hefty kind of emphases. And we'll kind of do some grasses up here as well, around the sheep. I'm going to give this one some horns. My sheep have all got really weird horns. Give her a black top knot too. Not going to mess that up. Okay, the trees, you can just add a few branches here and there in the holes. And here too, perhaps. Just one or two bits and pieces. And then down here, like I said, we can put a few poppy centres in. I wouldn't want to do them all, but just a few. I'm going to put a bit of green in there. A bit of green behind him or her. It could be a boy. And if we take the green back, the grass, we can go round the sheep. And that's why I kind of left it blank in the first place, because we can go back up around them. Refine their shape a little bit. Put a little bit more green in here if you want, rather than having it so pale. So we have another layer of land behind. but still keeping it nice and light as if the sun's shining. And then we'll just pick up our small brush again and put in a few more really dark sprigs. Try and make it really dark. Okay, well, I think that's probably enough for one day. What do you think? We could maybe make the sheep just a little bit darker on this one side. And I'm going to correct, using my marker here, correct his head. Let's take that down a little bit. I know that's not perfect, but I'll go over that again and wipe that out. A bit of acrylic or gouache will sort that out. So, I'm going to take off the tape now. And I did say yesterday when I did this with the members, for the members group, I did say you could probably reuse this, and I think you probably could if you could find a way of keeping it and stopping it from sticking to everything in sight, because it does have quite a sticky habit. So I'm going to stick it to my table and I'll try and use it again on the piece underneath this one. So there we are, one little landscape, including some sheep and some stone walls and a few ideas for how to use some of these Primatech colours. And I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you again on Thursday, most likely, and then Saturday. So, have a lovely evening, everybody, and I will take this off of here, and I'll see you again soon. So, and I will fix that little problem with the sheep's head. We will sort that out with a bit of white gouache or something. Or a bit of green gouache, actually, that'll do the trick. You'll see it in the thumbnail, probably, or at the end of the video. So there we are. I fixed him with a little bit of gouache. When that's dry, we won't even notice it. So I'll let it go again. And see you on Thursday. Bye for now, everyone. Bye-bye.